All right, back. A beautiful day in Berea. Browns legend Josh Cribbs. I am your host, Nathan Zegura. It's Browns Live Training Camp presented by Discount Drug Mart, and you saw that hype there. This is a group that is hungry. This is a group that is tight as you see them out on the field getting there huddled together before they get ready to go. It's time to preview now the Browns linebackers in today's position spotlight, brought to you by Pilot Flying J. And Josh, you said it from the top. This is a position group. You don't have the first rounders. You have multiple on your defensive line. You have multiple on the back end of your defense. You have a couple of thirds. You got a veteran in B.J. Goodson. You have last year's starter Mack Wilson back, but it's a young, hungry group.
It's a young, hungry group that's looking for their own identity. And guys on that group are looking for a home. You're talking about B.J. Goodson. He bounced around a few years between, I believe, New York and Green Bay. But he's looking for a home here. And then you shift down to Taki and Wilson. These are two guys that weren't big known guys coming out. They're not your big names. So this group in its entirety are looking to kind of make their own name. And they have to start now. That's why you see me, I see Coach having to temper them. They know what's at stake. They know that people have undervalued them. So it's their reputation to create.
It is, and listen, number 93, you see him in the middle, B.J. Goodson. He's been working as the team's Mike linebacker so far this training camp, and he comes in with the most experience, a former fourth-round pick out of Clemson. He's a 4-year veteran. He's played with both the Giants and the Packers, 29 career starts there, and really he's got more starts than the rest of the linebacker room combined. Beside him will be typically Mack Wilson, the fifth-round pick out of Alabama, who started 14 games as a rookie last year, 82 tackles, 4 tackles for loss. He had an interception, a forced fumble, and 7 passes defensed. And Mack really has worked incredibly hard this offseason and wants to show that he can be a leader in this room. Now, you've got, as you mentioned, temper that a little bit, as we saw yesterday, obviously, with the play on the sideline, and hopefully that will be a learning point for Mack. But when you talk about pedigree, you talk about size, speed, fluid, sideline-to-sideline linebackers, Mack looks like a very good starting option at that will position.
And you almost have to, when I say temper him, not keep trying to baby him and tell him to pull off. You almost have to keep him out when your number one guys are in the game, because you want that monster instinct. You want a guy who you can just chain up, and then once the game starts, unhook the chain and let him go like a true dog, a Browns dog. You don't want him to get in the habit of having to hold back his aggressive part, which all linebackers need to possess to exceed the levels here in the National Football League, especially with the Browns. We need this group to show up for this defense. So, I know they were talking to him and tell him, hey, these are your teammates, these are your guys, but you almost want to pull a guy like Mack Wilson out and let him beat up on those those 2s and 3s. If you have one.
But we need him. Don't you need him to get those reps with the guys he's going to play with? Because the communication, that's a huge part of what you do on defense.
Exactly. But at the same time, when you talk about your communication, you can make those calls with the quarterback like Case Keenum. He's been there. He could have faced somebody like him. So he's still a big-time quarterback who will have those calls, which will force Mack to make the proper reads and to still make him move sideline to sideline, because the backups, they're the guys that are hungry.
Yep. So
those running backs, they're trying to make a team, the guys that are second level. So in my opinion, if you want a guy like Mack to fly free, put him on those running backs who are still trying to make a team and see how they fare up against a guy who's trying to make an identity for himself. And that's good competition. And not so much against your guy Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt, in my opinion.
And we'll see what ends up happening with Mack Wilson today. But you look at number 44, Sione Takitaki, the third-round pick of the Browns from last season. He's been working as the team's starting Sam linebacker, the strong side linebacker in their 4-3 base defense. Last year, 1 start, 105 snaps, 21 tackles. How he does in space is going to be key. We know he's physical. He flies around the field at the point of attack. How he handles that transition to space will determine how good he could be. And so far, he's been looking pretty comfortable out there, Josh.
I like saying his name, Taki.
Yes.
Get that out the way. At the same time, no matter how much we like saying his name, he has to give us a reason in the game to keep talking about him. We don't want to just say his name just for kicks. this is a year for him to have a breakout year, to kind of let the upper management and the coaches know, hey, I belong here. I'm going to make it happen. Watch my progression. Hear me roar or hear me bark, since he's a dog. I want to see him succeed this year.
And he's going to get a lot of work in this camp. The Browns are playing a defense where they're going to match the offense's personnel, and this team plays a lot of two tight ends, so you're seeing a lot of that base 3 linebacker defense from the Browns early on in this camp, and that means a lot of taki-taki. So those have been your top 3 really so far this camp. Behind them, you've got Jacob Phillips, number 50, the Browns' third-round pick out of LSU, where he played with Grant and Greedy. As I mentioned, the SEC's leading tackler, the Mike linebacker on the LSU national champion team, a guy who in his collegiate career last season, 113 tackles, only 3 missed. I got a chance to talk with him prior to our show here, and he's part of our position group spotlight brought to you by Pilot Flying J with a look at the linebackers. He's just a natural tackler. He's one of those linebackers where the game slows down for it. He has those natural instincts, knows when to shoot the gap, knows his run fits, and really the coaches have liked him. For him, again, how does he do in space? At LSU, Patrick Queen was more of the coverage linebacker. In today's NFL, to play linebacker, you've got to be able to cover.
Yes, and when you talk about covering space, that's the biggest thing. In space, how do you perform? That's why you'll see guys try to be hidden. If they can't cover in space, they'll try to move them inside or move them down on the defensive line to limit the his inconsistencies. The more you can do is your value. So if you can play in the trenches, down on the line, and up in the middle, and rotate out there, you become more valuable to your linebacker group.
Sure.
So you have this league is full of talented receivers, defensive, offensive guys who can make you miss in open field. As a linebacker, you can't always count on the sideline to help you out.
You're right about that, and that's why they're cross-training a lot of these guys, learning all the different positions. Phillips learned the Mike in college. Here he's learned the Mike as well as the Will, and sometimes even at the Sam as they go through some of their drop drills there for the linebacking core as they get ready for some of their drops in the zone coverage. Now you see number 55, Tay Davis. He's an undrafted free agent who joined the Browns in the early part of 2019. He's a special teams ace, 6 special teams tackles. He also has 5 career starts at linebacker with the Giants in 2018 and 19. Before coming to the Browns. He had a good day yesterday. 55, he's big, he's fast, he's physical. Also kind of in that group, we got Willie Harvey, who wears number 56, an undrafted free agent of the Browns last year who impressed the team and was on the active roster before suffering a season-ending injury. You've seen 58 out there as well. That's Solomon Ajayi, the brother of Jay Ajayi, the former running back in the NFL, an undrafted free agent out of Liberty, who has really caught the eye of the coaches. And then one guy to keep an eye on, and I think this is part of the modern progression of the NFL game, number 41, Montrell Meander, a converted safety who is now playing